Phil Yates and Neil Foulds.
When you look at the career of Stephen Hendry, he has no equal.
Top three have already qualified. Now it's time to find out who will finish top dog in the league. Will it be Stephen Hendry? Will it be Ding Junhui? A 4-2 victory for Ding Junhui, or better, and he gets the top spot in the league.
Little record down the years.
First frame, Stephen Hendry to break.
But he's been very frustrated, I know, with his lack of success in the last couple of seasons.
Big test for Stephen against Ding, who, like Ronnie, has adapted very well to the format. On the flip side of the coin, I think that Stephen's campaign in the Premier League this year has been as good as any I've seen since it was revamped. Played with 25 seconds, but he's got used to it as well.
Well, if this match follows the example of previous meetings between these two in this competition, we're in for a treat. A couple of seasons ago at Basingstoke, it was a 3-all draw. Hendry made breaks of 92, 45 and 123. Ding 112, 74 and 46. And he was pretty much the same in Aberdeen last season. Hendry breaks of 101 and 78. Ding 108, 120 and 82.
Yeah, I mean, Ding, when he's scoring, makes the game look ridiculously easy. He does have two ways of playing, though. I've seen him on off days, and he's not always very effective when he's struggling. I know that applies to most players, but some get through it better than others. But when he's at his best, he's up there with O'Sullivan. He's an awesome break builder. And, of course, Stephen. No argument there. Maybe not quite as potent a force as he once was in the century break department.
Not
quite where he wanted to be. I wonder if he can just drop this red in and hold to the blue. Well, that's one way of doing it. There wasn't much room to play with. That was actually a very good shot. Not bad. Gone too far maybe for red to the left corner, but he's got some kind of a shot to the left centre.
22.
Maybe up into the top left pocket.
Well potted, and look at the control on the cue ball.
It's a great shot. Many players would have played it into the centre. Well, he's unlucky if he's not on one there. There might be one that pots up the table. It's played okay. He's kind of clung onto that red there. You can see touching ball. I believe he can get to one though to keep the break going. Playing it down into the green pocket. Well, he's played it in such a way that he must believe that the pink is potable as well. It is.
And this is the kind of start that Ding is capable of.
37.
Immediately into that fluent, flowing, high-scoring stride.
38.
Once again, he's got the angle if he wants to just nudge into those 4 reds. He's got a couple of reds out in the open, which kind of helps him. Got one to play on if it goes slightly wrong. Again, it's a beautiful shot, that. Very delicately played. He didn't just hit and hope. He went into them
45.
Slowly because he was so confident that he could get the shot.
.46.
And now, Neil, we're thinking, can Ding make his 10th century break of the tournament?
Beautiful shot again.
53. 54.
2 reds near bulk mean that 144 break mark is unlikely. But if he did make a 144, it would be the highest under the 25-second shot clock rule. The record was established this season by Steve Davis, 143.
It's just the manner in which he's made these so far, you know. I mean, he had a little bit of a problem at the beginning. 1 or 2 shots went wrong, but now he's
69.
He's found his range.
70.
And well, they're supporting Stephen Hendry, the audience tonight, but they clap Ding because they realise he's done enough to win the frame. That's good knowledge. And very complimentary because it's been a very nice break. He's just stroking the balls in.
78.
Yes, he could be due again for a big title, Ding. This one, maybe the UK Championship. I wouldn't be surprised if he won either. Or in fact both.
84. 85. 91.
Now, is he on far enough? Because he's just having a good look. I'm not sure if he's absolutely on this without just a trace of side to just push the angle wider. Yeah, I think he did have to use a bit of side.
92.
The century will only come with one of the more difficult reds. That's due to the fact that he took a couple of pinks in the break. He could have maybe got to 100 before tackling one of those awkward reds. It's a great start to the match.
98. 99.
He's going to cash the bonus. Century breaks in the partybets.com Premier League of 2007 and counting.
Absolute magic, isn't it? Yes, I was in commentary at Guildford when he absolutely demolished Steve Davis. And
106.
You just wonder if he's ever going to miss when he's in that kind of form.
108.
Yes, 6-0. And in last year's Premier League, when those two met, Davis and Ding, it was exactly the same.
111.
He can knock in the centuries. As Phil pointed out, he's gone over 100 already in his career, and it's a young career. Just a young man who knocks in big breaks for fun.
He's got pink and black here, Neil, for his 4th break
120.
over 130 in the tournament.
And how well did he play that shot? Inch perfect again. Wonderful.
126.
That's what you call signalling your intent. Hendry missed the red and then sat down to watch.
Way to break.
I've been covering the snooker circuit now, Neil, for over 19 years. Certain things stick out as highlights during that time, and one of them has to be Ding's victory over Hendry in the China Open final in 2005. Remember, Ding was in that event as a wildcard entry. Came through the field like you wouldn't believe. Whitewashed Peter Ebden 5-0 in the last 32 and was off and running. He was 4-1 down to Hendry in that final in Beijing. Big crowd there. Immense expectation. The mayor of Beijing was on the front row, I remember. And yet Ding composed himself, did not panic, and won 8 of what turned out to be the closing 9 frames to win the first world ranking event of his career. He's won another couple subsequently, Northern Ireland Trophy and the UK Championship. And in terms of talent, he looks guaranteed to be a multiple winner. But as you've rightly pointed out, all very well when you're in the balls and flowing, but he tends to drop his head if things aren't going well, if the balls are going scrappy, and he's a few frames behind.
Well, it was a brilliant pot. I have to say, the shot didn't go entirely as he planned because he did play it as a shot to nothing. Now the red's gone in. And what kind of a shot does he have on a colour? So he's not a brilliant one. He could take the blue on, but it's a risky sort of a shot to play.
Green ball.
So he's playing the green. Don't think he'll be going for this. That's a good shot. That's very sensible. Yes, there's no doubt that Ding has... well, he's put in a few moody performances where he hasn't really looked like his heart's been in it, interspersed with all this brilliance. Maybe it was that match against Ronnie O'Sullivan at the Masters which caused all the problems. I think it upset him, personally.
Well, is history going to repeat itself? It was a red missed to that pocket that cost Hendry in the first frame.
I think he's slightly fortunate if he's on the blue. He's not actually on it very well. So once again, it wasn't one of his better shots. Just going back to that match, Phil, we just touched on briefly there, where he lost in the Masters final to Ronnie O'Sullivan. It was an absolutely supercharged crowd in London, very vocal at the best of times, but it was not an altogether friendly crowd, and Ding definitely got upset with what happened. I think he wanted to jack the game in. I'm not certain that he misjudged the fact that it was frames to 10. I thought he wanted to concede myself.
Well, for me that was a smokescreen, undoubtedly. At 9-3, he gave up. I agree with you though, that crowd can be very harsh at times, and there's a player in the arena at the moment who's felt their negative side, Stephen Hendry, over the years.
Yes, and I think it just upset him. A young man who's a brilliant player, and his game for maybe 6 months or so undoubtedly suffered, but signs in the last few weeks that he's coming back to his best, and he'll probably be a better player for it all. He's awesome in the balls. It's another beautiful split, and he seems to just split them up so well. There's always a bit of luck involved in breaking the pack of reds up, but
16.
Ding, he seems very skillful at it to me.
17.
Just going back to that Wembley Arena occasion one last time, I think also it's worth mentioning that Ronnie O'Sullivan just played brilliantly. And Ding was in a very unusual position. He didn't really know what to do to stem the tide.
Yeah, I think Ronnie played brilliantly. He tried his best to protect Ding from all that was going on. He was as disgusted as a few other people with the way that Ding was treated. But as I say, it left its mark. But some of the stuff he's playing now, fantastic.
That was a kick, though. Yes, I'm a big fan of Ding's. Plays the game
30.
in an aesthetically pleasing way, doesn't he?
$31.
Well, the kick 2 shots ago has made his position slightly out. Once again, he's got to play a decent little delicate shot here. Just a soft screw. He made it look like nothing. Good shot again. I don't know whether he's too worried about getting the black onto its spot. It would depend if 37. The black would pot anywhere. He might have to play on it if he's straight on this red. I don't know if he can get onto the pink anyway. Well, there you go, it's dead straight, so he's got to play on the black. Just a question of when the black spots, 38. Will it pot anywhere? There is a red quite close to it. Just might go to the right corner. We'll find out shortly, perhaps, if he knocks it in. Oh, well, that's not helped. Now the black won't go on its spot at all, and the highest available is the brown. Well, as it happens, it's not a huge difference that it's 45. Made, perhaps, if he can keep the break going. He would like the black to be on its spot and potable, obviously.
You know,
46.
The interest in Ding back home in the Chinese media is just immense. I wouldn't want to over-egg the situation and say it's Beckham-esque, nothing quite like that, but they expect so much of their man, and when he doesn't deliver,
52.
They write a very disappointed copy.
53.
Well, they should be very proud of him, because he could dominate the game in years to come. A game that really has featured mostly British players. Obviously we've had some tremendous players from overseas, a lot of tremendous Canadian players.
59.
Irish players, they've been tremendous over the
60.
years. They've really won all the big titles. So Ding could be a flag bearer for Asia and China, especially. There are other players coming through with his brilliance. Rubbing off, isn't it?
Well, this frame is secure.
66.
He's played so well tonight,
67.
hasn't he? And it's all been controlled stuff as well. I mean, he's not always been in around the black spot with nothing to think about. There's been lots to think about in these breaks.
Of course, he finished in the top 4 in the Premier League last season, but was unable to take his place in the playoffs because the Chinese authorities
73.
insisted that he attend the Asian Games in Doha in Qatar. It's worth a trip over there.
74.
Completed a clean sweep of gold medals in the team, the doubles and the snooker singles.
$80.
Well, there's the domination. Stevens not potted a ball, or really had one to go for, except for a long red at the start of each frame. The only thing that's happened there, he's pushed the red off the cushion, looking to make another century, but he's pushed it in a really awkward place. Okay, it's in the middle of the table, but it doesn't pot into many pockets. You have to think about the way that it can.
Time out.
Now, he could, if he could get over there, which is going to be difficult, then he could possibly get on the red.
$87.
Not quite in the circle. Shock horror. What's occurring? No century break for Ding, but he does make an 87. 1-3-3 in the first. Total domination. Hendry has drawn a blank. Hasn't potted a ball.
Stephen Hendry to break.
Well, it's not as though Hendry has made a flood of mistakes or anything like that. Just one misjudgment on reds from distance in each of the first two frames, and he's been made to pay very heavily.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, in any match, you tend to find that there's a few mistakes that you've made, and you say, well, that's what cost me, this is what cost me. Stephen hasn't done an awful lot wrong so far, as you say. He's been in the face of some terrific play. That's nothing he should be ashamed of. What about this? My word, look at that for a shot. Rolled that in as if it was over the pocket. He never touched the sides either, by the way. Oh, well, well. 64 and counting. Balls potted. He's had all the table time. Everything. Potted all the balls.
Can you imagine the impact on the game if Ding were to win the World Championship?
8.
China already hosts two world ranking events in Shanghai and Beijing. But there are so many cities over there
9.
of huge population that could hold others. We actually had a world ranking event not so long ago at the Mission Hills Golf Complex, which this week is hosting the Omega Mission Hills World Cup of Golf. Live and exclusive, of course, here on Sky Sports.
Now then, the pink won't spot. It's going to go below its own spot, and it just might cover one or two of the reds up. Ding might be able to get on. You do wonder what is going to stop him from scoring at the moment, and maybe it will be just maybe a slight bit of bad luck as to where the pink goes. Well, there still might be a red on. If this is not in Ding's time, referee Paul Collier
15.
had a bit of time there, which didn't count against the player at the table, quite rightly.
16.
Now then, he's got a choice here. He could play to go into them, or he could play to get onto the red at the bottom, which is available. That one will pot. He's got a choice. I do think he's got it in his mind to go into the pack, though. How about that for a shot? Well, we're seeing some of the best stripping of the pack you can ever see. Look at this. It didn't look that promising before he played it.
23. Touching ball.
Someone get Hendry a cushion.
$24.
Horrible when players spend a lot of time in their chairs, powerless as their opponents pile up the points. Do you remember that famous occasion at the UK Championship back in the late 80s, Neil, when Dean Reynolds was playing Tony Chappell and Reynolds started to read a newspaper?
30.
I do remember that, yes. That was a little bit over the top, really.
31.
I suppose it depends which paper you're reading, doesn't it? This is, I have to say, if I was playing here, I'd be disappointed to be sitting watching this, but I wouldn't be reading the
38.
paper, because it's something special watching Ding in full flight now. Top side of the blue, absolutely perfect again. Don't forget that this break started with a terrific long red.
.44.
I remember when you
45.
played one of China's pioneering players in a world ranking event in Thailand, was it Guahua? You played?
Yes, managed to beat him. He wasn't quite as good as Ding, I can assure you of that.
That's just what I was thinking, actually. Nice lad, but not in the same league.
Nowhere near, but a good player.
.51.
Now look at this, 272, still counting.
52.
You wouldn't bet too much against him making another tree here. Unlucky not to make one in frame 2. 1-3-3 in the opener. Very special.
.59.
They could make 1-4-2. Blacks with all these reds it would have to be. He's not yet over the line in the frame, that's obviously priority. Now then, has it gone wrong?
60.
I think he could be on the pink to the centre. I think he played on the black actually. Maybe a half ball contact on the ready cannon was what he really wanted, but it's not too bad. That's, again, I don't think that's what he played, but it's, it doesn't really look like
66.
missing.
Well,
67.
with the blue, you can only assume that, from Hendry's perspective, another frame has gone west, or, considering Ding's national origin, gone east.
Not just happy with the frame ball pink, but developed 2 or 3 balls.
73.
Deep down, you know, he'll be admiring his play. Well, Stephen.
74.
He actually did something, I noticed at the end of the first frame, he just patted his chair to congratulate Ding on that 1-3-3, so that's just a sign of respect, really, I think, for someone who's playing out of this world.
81.
He really has played special snooker, Phil, hasn't he, here?
Yes, certain players on the snooker
82.
circuit, mentioning no names, tend to heap praise on everyone they play. Not Hendry, he's more a realist. But when he sees a wonderful talent like Ding, he appreciates it.
89.
Well, all Stephen's done in this frame is break off. And it was a good break.
90.
Ding rolled in a long red to the left corner, and this is what he's done ever since.
.97.
One ball away from taking
98.
that record number of century breaks in the Premier League in one season to 29. Ding responsible for 11 of them.
And that is another stunning shot, by the way. What a complimentary audience we've got. Their hero has been absolutely buried, and the shot he just played there again. Fantastic. I mean, we see a lot of snooker, Phil, and we always say that people are playing well, but I have to say I've not seen anyone play better than this in 3 frames of snooker ever. He just got in and knocked everything in from the start.
When he first came on the scene, Peter Ebdon repeatedly said, this lad is just phenomenal. We thought for a time, we
111.
doubted Ebden, that he was quite as good as he was saying, but Ebden has been proved comprehensively correct.
114. 118. 123. 129.
357 points without reply, and in less than 30 minutes with breaks of 133 place
Fourth frame
in this Premier League.
Ding Way to break.
Well, as Phil pointed out, 357-0 is the points, and that is just phenomenal, really. He's had all the table time, which is not surprising given the previous stat. He doesn't want this to go over the pocket. But it's not exactly over the pocket, it actually is a missable shot. A mere mortal, anyway. This is a tester.
To Ding Junhui, the pockets at the moment are appearing like those on a 9-ball pool table.
Yeah, I mean, one or two people have actually said to me that the pockets do seem quite big, but you know, not everybody has played like this in the league. Balls have been missed in other matches involving other players.
If he puts another 150 points on the board without Hendry managing to score, it will be a world record.
Another good shot because he pushed the red down the table a little bit, not only getting on the black. Seems to be in perfect control. Now there were two
14.
reds just above the black, which looked like they both popped into the same pocket that he just knocked that red into.
15.
So he's got a really good chance to keep the break going. Certainly the right hand of the two reds pots.
22.
Yes, and that'll free the other one up.
$23.
I remember in a Masters quarter-final years back, Hendry did something similar to this to Jimmy
30.
White. I think it was 489 points without reply on that occasion.
$31.
Tonight, though, Hendry is the one who's receiving, not giving the punishment.
Well, there's a red that pots to the opposite corner. Depends on the angle. Now this is, I think, the key to even more domination, this next shot. Potting this red, he'll free up a number more reds, and so far his break building and his
38.
splitting of the pack has been just brilliant. And he's got to go into them this time. May play it with topspin to try and really go through the pack. I think this is the key. He's going to break any world records here. Oh, tremendous shot. He needs a bit of luck though, and that hasn't played a huge part
39.
in his brilliance this evening so far. There's a lot of topspin. Cue ball going right through the pack. Now then, here comes a really big shot for Ding. He's taken on this black. This is very missable.
Missable? What's that?
That is a great shot. Phil, the game has never
46.
changed. Shots are difficult. But at the moment, with the confidence he's got, he doesn't really feel like he's going to miss, does he? Or look like it.
47.
Now, he's been sensational. Look at that. Phil, have you seen that before?
Only from the man he's playing, actually. So late into a match.
I think you can get the pot success rate 100%
54.
if you knock the first ball of the match in. But we're into the fourth frame here, aren't we?
$55.
Considering that it's Hendry we're talking about, I never thought I'd be giving a statistic like this, but the lowest number of points ever scored in a match was 2 by a lady called Maureen McCarthy, who entered the Benson Hedges Championship at Malvern some years ago.
62. $63.
These points are all totting up, not only in the break, but look at that, 420. And the other thing, Phil, is that the biggest amount of points scored without reply doesn't always count from the beginning of a match, does it? I mean, Stephen hasn't put a ball in the match yet. Usually it's somewhere in the middle of a match when it happens.
I'd hazard a guess as to
70.
say, from the start of a match, this is already a record.
Here's another tricky shot. He's very awkward on the cushion. This could be missed. I'll say it again, could be missed. Well, it touched the sides for once.
71.
But he didn't miss it. Now then, what does he do here? I mean, if he plays the pink, again, another shot that could be missed. Ah, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
This is just extraordinary. Ronnie O'Sullivan's performance last week defied belief at times,
77.
but this is just clinical.
$78.
Stephen has been an onlooker for the whole evening. Running out of superlatives to describe how well he's played here.
85.
Another brilliant shot just to nudge the red out with complete control of the cue ball.
All this talk of points and breaks, what we can say now is that Ding will top the table.
We're looking at maybe another century, but just thinking maybe Aberdeen weekend after next, possibly the final between someone like Ding and Ronnie, both playing
92.
at their best. How about that for a thought?
Well, 5 players left in title contention, and whatever permutation we've got up there in the
99.
Granite City, it's going to be some weekend. 4 frames, 3 centuries.
Possibilities of coming round off 2 cushions here. Well, he's not played it. He must fancy it in the middle pocket. And it's pretty acute, and you couldn't have got onto it better to play that shot anywhere but there. It was hardly potable. This is wonderful snooker again.
$111. 113.
Can't quite break that record for unanswered points in this frame, but he could certainly do it at the start of the 5th.
$120.
His cue ball controller's got better and better
25.
in each frame he's played, to the point where he's virtually putting the ball on a sixpence. He's really in the zone, and it doesn't happen every day of the week that someone gets into the zone, even the great players like this.
4 frames, and this is as near to perfection as you can get in snooker. He was the previous holder of the unanswered points mark. 494 he amassed in beating Ronnie O'Sullivan in the Grand Prix final of 2005. At the moment, Ding on 495, a new mark.
Yeah, I have a feeling in that match that they were 4 consecutive centuries as well from John, as I recall, and that is the kind of snooker you have to play to amass that kind of advantage over another player.
Heard Hendry there talking to Paul Collier during the break between frames, saying, why not even score a point here? He doesn't want that unwanted distinction. As we've said, the lowest number of points ever scored by one player in a professional match, just 2. Maureen McCarthy. Of course, Neil, you hold an unwanted record. We were talking about it earlier today, weren't we? The first player ever to lose to a woman in a professional snooker event.
I'm pleased you brought that up, actually. It's very kind of you. But it did happen. Alison Fisher beat me in the old form of the league. I must just also say, at this point, she beat Mike Hallett and Tony Drago the same season in the league, and drew with Jimmy White. It seems an awfully long time ago. Not sure how old Ding was then, if he was even born. He's played some of the best snooker, I truly mean it as well, that I've ever seen here. Okay, it's a shortish match.
Fisher, of course, has gone on to great things in the United States, playing 9-ball pool. Beating you, that was an ultimate confidence booster.
Yeah, I was trying to talk about the match, but you won't let things lie, will you? Which is fair enough. Snooker's obviously not good enough for you, Phil. You need to digress, do we?
I think it was only 20 years ago, come on.
Now, he's not going to play that red because he's got every imaginable advantage in this match, and even though he's won, he'll be finished top of the league at the group stage. He wants more, doesn't he? Poor old Stephen. I mean, he just literally broke off and had 1 shot each other frame that he's not broken, and really that's all he's done. This will cause Ding a few problems. You feel there's any amount of balls in the way of the red over the pocket. And what's he looking at here? Tell you what, I think he looked at a possible plant. Depends which red he feels he can get to.
Time out.
Well, I think he can possibly push that red onto the edge of the one over the pocket. That's what he looked at. I'm not sure if that's on, but he certainly looked at that possibility. Yeah, I think he could play that, but he's only got half of the red over the pocket that he can get to, which makes it a very difficult shot. But we've said that before tonight, or I have, about difficult shots, and none of them even touch the sides. I think that's what he's going to have to play. It's gettable. I think at last we're going to see Stephen pot one now, and I'm sure there will be a tumultuous roar. Stephen will not be smiling because that is not a very good shot, I have to say.
Stephen Hendry, 1.
That is the definition of a cold player who's been sitting down and watching, and it's like the Arctic, I was thinking, Stephen's chair, that really is starved of any table time whatsoever. He did well to get that close to the blue, I should think.
The potting angle not available for Ding, just playing that dump shot in behind the yellow for a good containing snooker.
Go back a few years though, Phil, you wouldn't have believed it was possible, however dominant the likes of Stephen Hendry was, that someone could do it to him that he did to so many other players, and possibly even more devastating.
Well, Hendry holds so many records when it comes to domination of opponents. Perhaps the most impressive was when he beat Ken Doherty in the UK Championship final in 1994, making 7 century breaks in the match.
Yeah, so the fact is, in many ways, you know, it was Stephen that's made this possible, that players could play to this level, because he was the first to do it, really. As you say, all those centuries in that final. That's the benchmark now for excellence in snooker.
With those 2 reds on the side cushion, get the feeling this will be at least a scrappier frame than the first 4.
This is awkward. This is not an easy safety shot. Ding hasn't really had to play many safeties in the match so far. And this is one that could go wrong. Just trying to find a thin edge of a red. He's hit it thicker than he meant to, but it's all right.
So, Miss McCarthy, I'm not sure which, your place in the record books is secure for now. If you were watching last week, you might remember that Ronnie O'Sullivan demolished Neil Robertson for 5 frames, but Robertson had the presence of mind and the determination to make a century in the 6th. I was just going to say, can Hendry pull a frame back here? Not the best of positional shots there.
Now, if he gets it, I think he'll be on a red, and with 5 or 6 ones, reds in the open, that is. But the fact that he's taken a timeout, it is a tricky one, this. Takes on the black to the centre. There's a lot of things that could go wrong. Could always miss it. He doesn't really want to play safe. I'm sure of that. Makes me think he might be taking this green on. Probably isn't the right shot. That's just a sign of Stephen just trying to get into the match, isn't it? Do something, make something happen. I'm sure it wasn't the correct shot at that time, but the match is gone.
Now to pot a ball at that pace across the ball cushion so accurately just tells you how well Ding is cueing.
Yeah, it's very good control again. He's got the blue on its spot. That's crucial, especially with the black a little awkward.
7.
Once again, you don't really see him missing. Not for a while. As much as anything else, it's because his cue ball is so controlled that he's not playing any difficult shots now. The first frame, 1 or 2 awkward shots crept in,
13.
but since then, he just seems to have had the cue ball exactly where he wants it at all times.
14.
Here's an interesting thought, Neil. If Ding were to win this frame, that would be 5 frames, £5,000 plus at least 3 centuries, so a minimum total of £8,000 earned this evening, which is £500 more than Sean Murphy and Mark Allen banked for reaching the semi-finals of the recent Northern Ireland Trophy, a world ranking event.
Make no mistake, this is one of the big tournaments in
21.
The snooker calendar.
$27. 28.
He's gone a bit too far. Maybe still on it. He definitely went further than he wanted to. Just wondering if there's enough of the red sticking out to pot
34.
it. I think there just about is. There you can see, he definitely went a bit too far though.
35.
Just a minor problem, which he's now completely got over.
$41. 42.
At the start of the month in Guildford, Ding whitewashed Steve Davis 6-0. Will he do the same to Stephen Hendry? 12-0 against two players who between them have won 13 world titles.
I think it's safe to say that Ding struggled a little bit when he was playing in qualifiers still, having made his way up through the rankings against perhaps lesser players. He's never really struggled against all the better players. Good record against O'Sullivan and one or two others, Stephen along the way. Real top players in the game he's beaten.
54.
And although numerically it's far from the biggest break he's made so far tonight, this is one of the best.
Ding Junhui 54.
Not quite enough though to get over the line. It's going to be an awfully lengthy way back for Hendry from here with the position of the balls, but 49 adrift, 59 on. Hope.
And that shot's not really done him any favours at all, because Ding will just be able to play a good safety, push up the table. For once, that break wasn't enough to win the frame. The first time that's happened. There's been one visit snooker so far. Going to want that red not to go over the middle pocket, which it has done, and this is another frame that's gone.
Of course, Hendry has been whitewashed before, most notably by that journeyman professional from Dumbarton, not too far from here, Marcus Campbell in the UK Championship. But I can't ever recall him being so comprehensively thrashed.
7.
Well, the pot success, 99%, as near to perfect as you can imagine, really, in a match that's now 5 frames old.
$14. 15.
Play the cannon to knock the red out here if he's got the angle. Looks like he has. Well, he thought he had.
$21. $21 on the frame, Ding Junhui.
5 frames played. 5 points for Stephen Hendry. Ding, simply unstoppable.
His 600's up, Phil.
31.
For a match in its entirety, I don't think we've ever seen quite such a one-sided score.
No, 601 for 5. You declare at cricket with that kind of score, wouldn't you?
Well, didn't the Aussies declare 501 for 5 against Sri Lanka the other day?
Ding drives a hard bargain, doesn't he?
$39. $40.
Ronnie O'Sullivan, Stephen Hendry, John Higgins and now Ding Junhui. When they're in the balls, you can almost guarantee they're going to make a big break when they're in form like this.
They are the class players in the game, but with Ding it's happening more and more.
47.
Certainly think of 3 matches in the league where he's made 3 centuries
48.
This season, and we're only talking about a 6 frame match, don't forget. High standard indeed.
Foul.
Well, he's touched the white. Well, would you believe that? That is almost the only way you can imagine him missing. 7 points for Stephen. That's more than he scored in the whole match. Just feathered the cue ball. Moved it about a millimetre, I would say. Yeah, he just saw it move.
And that's a really unusual mistake.
You know what though, Phil? It's kind of a sign, I speak as a former player, that you're playing well when you do that. It's just you're so confident, you get so close to the tip of the cue to the ball that it normally means that you're at your best.
6.
Don't ask me why, but it just does work that way. You get very, very close to the cue ball. Too much so. It's not really happening for Stephen, is it? I wouldn't be surprised if he took one on. I mean, he's not the kind of player that would be interested in playing a safety shot, you know. Knowing Stephen as I do. Surely he's not playing safe. Well, he is. Well, that's fair enough. He didn't earlier on. He took on a green that maybe he should have played safe, but I think out of respect for the game and his opponent, he wouldn't take on that blue.
Made a bad job of it, though.
Yeah, he might as well have gone for it. What I'm saying is, though, Phil, a lot of players would have just slashed at the blue there. Me included, I can tell you.
Not even the infamous beeps can break this young man's concentration.
Well,
6.
He can actually get to a red, I think. And it's possible that he might knock it in, you know. All of a sudden he's slightly lost his concentration. It had to happen.
Foul.
He's given away all these points in fouls, and it's doubling and trebling Stephen's match haul so far. Now this is a replay of the shot that he played. What he's done, Stephen, he's asked him to play it again, which is not what Paul Collier wanted to hear, because as a referee you dread the situation. He's actually asking us in the commentary box now if we can see where the balls are.
Yeah, it's back here. They'll get it on the camera for me now, make it easier. I know. No.
Well, that's where they were. The yellow is directly behind the pink.
Behind the pink?
Well, never going to be easy to get this sorted out. Video replays are great in snooker. It's always difficult though.
More that way, isn't it?
Yeah.
The problem with the yellow was it was just a little bit further down. I don't necessarily think that the yellow is actually that important a ball in this. It's not where it was originally, but it's other balls that are more strategic, aren't they, Phil?
Yeah, it's not integral to the shot, and of course the main thing is with the yellow is that he puts it back in a position where it's still available should Hendry get the chance to clear up.
Be in the car park in a minute. Yeah?
Right.
Well, it's been a pretty exhausting match for Paul Collier. First 5 frames, he's done a lot of fielding. The ding. Running around the table after him, and now he had to replace the balls there. Never much fun, that. Look at this shot. Oh dear.
Hendry's smile turns to a bit of a grimace. when you're up against an opponent as inspirational as Ding has been this evening, you need a bit of luck, and Hendry has received none whatsoever. It looks like the big 6-0.
Let's be honest, it is a reflection of the match. Sometimes you see these score lines, you say, well, it's not a true reflection, but he's played 6-0 better than Stephen tonight. He's not given Stephen Hendry a chance. First 4 frames were awesome.
Seven.
43 points the lead, 51 available for Hendry, so this black and one more red will be sufficient.
Ding Junhui 7.
Lots of pride of performance coursing through the veins of Stephen Hendry. He'll badly want to clear up.
I wonder would his heart be in the clearance. It would be good to see if he could clear up. He's a bit straight on the black. He wants an angle to get onto the other side of the table to pop one of the 2 reds into the same pocket. I wonder if he has any angle at all to work with. The answer is no. Which means he's got to get onto the reds into the opposite pocket, which is about twice as difficult from there. He could easily miss this shot.
8.
If he gets this red, he goes favourite, although position
16
on the yellow is certainly anything but easy.
Stephen Hendry 16.
The final disappointment for Hendry on a night when he had born a blank.
One. Ding Junhui 1.
28 the difference, 27 on. Hendry feels as though there's still a faint hope. Given the position of the colours, I think that hope is a little more than faint, actually, Neil.
Again, it comes down to, has he got the heart for it now? He's been annihilated, hasn't he? And he missed his previous chance.
Stephen Hendry
He's
2.
got the snooker. Just going the one cushion route here. Safest bet. Well, if he can see enough of this, he's sure to go for it. I think he can get to the potting angle, actually.
This looks useful. Just needed a slightly bigger bounce. Remember, £1,000 for every frame won, and that's why Hendry is battling on. You can hardly blame him.
He's played it to maybe cover the green should he miss the pot. Don't think he's got either part of the shot actually. Hasn't got the cover.
Entirely understandable that Hendry should be battling away for a grand. After all, he's only collected 8,348,000 during his career.
Stevens in an awkward position now. He's full ball snookered. He's playing the swerve onto one cushion. He can slide past these. This is what he's done.
Foul.
That's enough.
6 of the very best from Ding Junhui. What a performance. Hendry blanked. Ding tops the table and does so in spectacular fashion.
Table looks like this. Ding Junhui top of the pile with 9 points. Stephen Hendry in second position. Ronnie O'Sullivan third. And it's a battle for that fourth spot between John Higgins and Steve Davis to see who makes it through to the semi-finals in Aberdeen. Steve Davis in fifth, Jimmy White sixth, Neil Robertson in seventh position.